Hello and welcome to my review of the Daemons of Nurgle Horticulous Slimux, or Slimux, whichever you prefer. This model will cost you £32.50. It comes on one sprue, and I'm adamant that this is actually probably the most expensive plastic sprue that's out there. When I mean sprue, just one sprue, not the size or anything like that, but just one sprue of plastic for that price. Yes, there are models that are smaller, but still quite pricey. I can't think of another one at the moment that is just one model on one sprue for almost £35 basically. This model will look like that painted. I think it's very kind of, you know, cartoony, it's not that grim dark, but I think it still slots in with the aesthetics of Nurgle, especially if you paint it in sort of like the darker plague bearer kind of colours. This is clearly like a Age of Sigmar type, you know, paint that they've got going, and I do like that they've used the nylon oxide in that sort of brown purpley kind of shell. I've wanted this model ever since I saw it. Unfortunately, it was only available in the Blight War box set, I think, and I wasn't really that prepared to sort of drop 70 or 90 pounds, I think it is, on that kit. Especially when I just bought like a Start Collecting Demons of Nurgle set. So finally it is out individually. You can buy this model individually, and here it is. It was probably the hardest model out of all of the releases that I recently got. There are a few gaps and things, especially on the front where I've put liquid green stuff, and a couple on the back. But the parts are so unique, I can see that it's really been well designed, because every part sort of fits pretty well. And there is a place for. It's got an awful lot of detail on this model for plastic. Lots going on, maybe too much going on. You've got a sort of dead Eldar, I want to say, or wood elf head there. You've got this tree growing on the top of the snail. I mean, is it a snail? Is it a slug? Is it a caterpillar? I mean, last time I checked, snails don't necessarily have these little chubby feet coming out, but it is a completely made up universe, so I completely understand how that could happen. Then you've got this little lizard poking his head out of the tree. You've got this little Shop of Horrors kind of plant thing, a bit more of a detailed one than the one on the Sly Marbo model. You've got like a little cooking pot with a tentacle coming out. You've got a little wooden bucket thing. You've got a skull with a load of mushrooms sprouting out of it. You've got Horticulous himself with one eye, with part of a horn missing, and then he's got this main horn, and then he's chewing on like a bone, a little bit reminiscent of you know, like a farmer or something. And then he's got these loppers, these shears. There's this Nurgling just dangling in front of the snail, a little bit like a carrot and stick kind of thing. The snail wants to eat the little Nurgling, looks nice and tender and juicy, but he's obviously never gonna get him. But Horticulous is obviously you know, goading Mulchi, I think his name is, into moving forward and you know, cultivating the land behind him. You know, it's a great model. It's, you know, completely different and unique and creative compared to your standard sort of, I really don't want to say boring, but I've said it, kind of Space Marine, kind of army, you know, this is a guy with power armor and a gun. This is the creative side of things. It's just fantastic. And you can use it in both Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40K. It's difficult to imagine it in Warhammer 40K unless you've actually read any 40K novels where Nurgle have been featured. There are some great parts in some novels where the author goes on to describe the Garden of Nurgle and how it festers and changes the landscape, and with those descriptions you can well imagine creatures like this roaming about, and even like the beasts of Nurgle and stuff flapping about and squelching, and you know, and this snail thing cultivating that land. In game terms, which I'll speak about the rules and things in a moment, but in games terms it does actually leave like a slimy sort of trail that actually causes mortal wounds, believe it or not. But yeah, quite an odd sort of comic face with these teeth as well, with a tongue. But there we go. I think it's a fantastic looking model, really well designed and sculpted. One of my favourites actually. And yeah, it's going to be a very interesting model to paint, to get the greens right, to get the shell right, to get the skin of the snail and the wood and the different items and things hung off of the shell to try and make them pop, and but yet not overpower the main bulk of the model. Okay, I've talked far too much about the creativity and stuff of this model. Let's have a look at some size comparisons. Zoom out a little bit. Next to a normal Plague Bearer. Kind of is in proportion. Horticulous is in proportion to one of these. You will spot this snail going around the battlefield if he's around Plague Bearers. Next to Sporepox. Sporepox is quite a big model though. And next to the Feculent Narmor. I think the tree is actually small compared to the snail, to be honest. So there you go. And then just next to the Great Unclean One, because I've got him out as well. So there you go. He does look huge next to the snail, but the snail just holds his own, you know, probably about half the size, but nowhere near the thickness, obviously. Okay, next to some Imperial models, I've just got a couple of Space Marines here. So you've got this one and you've the Primaris. Primaris definitely gives him the edge on the sort of bulk side and height side, but even 10 Space Marines firing into this wouldn't look too out of the ordinary. And trying to put it down. There you go. I hope that size comparison helps. Okay, so now we're into the part of the review where I'll talk to you about all of the rules and things. It's important to keep hold of your instruction book, this one, because it does include the rules for both Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40k. I will go through the Age of Sigmar rules, even though I don't really play that game system, after the Warhammer 40k rules, which you'll find in your Codex Chaos Demons book. He is a character, and as such you'll find him in your HQ section of the book. He is a power points cost of a 9 and a match play points cost of 165. So he's not cheap by any means, even at 9 or even at 165 points. He's not a cheap character. His movement speed is 5 inches, his weapon skill is 2+, ballistic skill 2+, strength is 5, but his toughness is a 6, which is great. He's got 9 wounds, that's a fair amount. He's got 4 attacks, leadership 8, and a save, a standard save of 4+. Which ain't too bad for a snail, I say. The weapons, well, Horticulous Slimux has got the lopping shears, so no ranged weaponry there. His strength is +1, so that's a strength 6, AP -3, damage D3, and you can re-roll failed wounds rolls for the weapon. So that's quite decent, strength 6, AP -3 and damage potentially D3. Mulch, which is a snail. Mulch is acidic maw. It's a melee weapon, strength is 7, AP -4 and damage 3. Now that's brilliant. That acidic maw really does some damage in close combat. After Horticulous makes his close combat attacks, you can attack with Mulch. You make 1 additional attack using this weapon profile. So after Horticulous gets his 4 attacks, you can then make 1 attack with his acidic maw, which is pretty horrific. Abilities, you've got Demonic, Disgustingly Resilient, and Demonic Ritual. So you're getting a 4+ normal, 5+ invulnerable, you're ignoring wounds on a 5+, and you can summon him in. And actually at PowerPoint 9, you've got a good chance of summoning him in with the 3d6. His other abilities, Beast Handler. You can re-roll failed charge rolls for friendly units of Beasts of Nurgle that are within 6 inches of Horticulous Slimux. In addition, you can add 1 to all hit rolls made for friendly units of Beasts of Nurgle that are within 12 inches of Horticulous Slimux. So that's great. So Beast Handler, he's pretty much in control of those flapping beasts of Nurgle that splash about, re-rolling their failed charges, and you can also add those ones to the hit rolls for a whopping 12 inches away. That's pretty good. Ploughed Slime Trail, this is what I was talking about earlier. You roll a d6 for each enemy unit that falls back within 1 inch of Horticulous Slimux. On a 4+, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. A 50-50 chance of getting probably 3 mortal wounds just because they're falling back on him. In death there is life. At the start of your turn, if any models, friend or foe, were slain during the last turn, 1 Nurgle demon model within 7 inches of Horticulous Slimux regains 1 lost wound. That's brilliant. Any models. So your friendly models, the foe, any Nurgle demon, you get an extra wound. So you're going to be buffing your greater demons, your Potspringers, your Sporepoxes, you name it. You're going to be buffing them by giving them more wounds. And finally, Seed the Garden of Nurgle. At the end of your movement phase, you can add a new Feculent Narmor to your army, and that's one of them. Set it up within 3 inches of Horticulous Slimux and more than 1 inch away from other models and terrain features. Horticulous Slimux cannot use this ability if he performed a demonic ritual this turn. So that's amazing that at the end of his movement phase you can just pop up one of those Narmals within 3 inches of him. So you could do that for your 4 or 5 turns, and then you got 4 or 5 feculent Narmals if he doesn't use the demonic ritual, which is great because you're just adding more and more of the auras and the buffs, and it's not costing you any points or anything. That's amazing. So yeah, that's a really big buff too. His faction keywords: Chaos, Nurgle Demon, Character, Cavalry, Herald of Nurgle, Plague Bearer, and Horticulous Slimux. So in summary, he's got a pretty standard movement speed, but his ballistic skill, weapon skill are great, strength and toughness are great, wounds are great, attacks are alright, leadership's alright, but he's got a good save of 4+ and a 5+ invuln, ignoring the wounds on a 5+2, and he's got quite a nice selection of buffs as well, especially if you've got a few beasts of Nurgle around, especially if you've got demons that want to regain lost wounds, and finally if you want to start sprouting out feculent Narmals all about, which is amazing. So really decent in Warhammer 40k, as well as being, you know, a really nice looking model. Let me just touch upon the Age of Sigmar rules. So his rules for Age of Sigmar: he's got 8 wounds, movement 5 inches, save of 3+, and bravery of 10. Lopping shears are range of 1 inch, 3 attacks, 3+ to hit, 3+ to wound, -1 rend, damage D3, and Mortuary Slime Encrusted Jaws, they're called in this one, range 1 inch, attacks D3, to hit 3+, to wound 3+, and rend -2 and damage 2. Again, the abilities, they've got Beast Handler, so you can reroll fail charge rolls and hit rolls of a 1 for friendly beasts of Nurgle while they're within 7 inches of Horticulous Slimux. Disgustingly Resilient, again, your 5+ wound is negated. Acidic Slime Trail, enemy unit within 3 inches of the model immediately before the model makes a retreat move, and 50-50 get D3 wounds. Cultivating the Garden of Nurgle, once during the battle, at the start of your hero phase, you can set up a feculent Narmal within 3 inches and more than 1 inch away from any other model or terrain feature. So that's a bit different than the 40k one, where you can just keep adding them every movement phase. In Death There Is Life, at the start of your hero phase, again you can heal 1 wound allocated to a friendly Nurgle Demon unit within 7 inches of Horticulous Slimux. So that's exactly the same as the 40k sort of rule. And that's pretty much it for the Age of Sigmar rule set. And that is the end of my review. What do you guys think of this model? What do you think of the rules? Do you think the rules could have been made better in any way? And is this model a must-take for your Demons of Nurgle army? Please do put it in the comments as always. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. Papa bless.